First we had a big black triangle, and now we have a slightly smaller white one. Hey look, check it out. It's the Yin Yang Diamond Force. Ooh, I can't get that in shot. Alright, so this is the video review for Bandai's DX Chogokin VF-171EX Nightmare Plus Alto Saotome Custom. And what's the big difference between these two? Besides about $100, this one has 100% more princess by volume. So starting off with the toy in fighter mode, it certainly feels lighter than Yamato's VF-17 toy. It's got a lot of really nice tampo markings, you know, and the very common thing with modern robot design where you put the name of the robot on the robot itself. It's like, oh, so you'll never forget what this one is. VF-171, you have a nice nun's marking here. It does kind of split through this whole mechanism here, so it's not quite seamless. You know, all this stuff here, and looks pretty nice, feels very solid altogether. You know, typical Tricycle landing gear made out of die cast. These doors on mine are very hard to get out. Sometimes if they're pushed all the way in, you kind of have to dig in from different angles to jimmy it out there. And also when we get to the front landing gear here, you will notice that this does have enough clearance to get past the gun just about. Just about. One thing I have noticed though is that the nose here, because it is on a bit of a pull-out joint, it can get knocked out of place if you don't push it in all the way, but other than that it works decently. And just another little feature of the fighter mode is the typical opening cockpit. And inside you do have a nice Alto Saotome pilot figure, and I noticed that on this one, because I don't actually own the Alto Renewal VF-25, but he has all the proper black on his arms and legs, whereas the pilot figure that came with my YF-29 did not, and it looked kind of weird. So I don't know if that was just a bad one that I got or whatever. So not much to say about fighter mode. Looks pretty good. The gun pod is stored mostly just by you pushing this tab in front into this slot here. There's a couple of tabs in here that are supposed to lock into this little fold-up mounting bracket here. Unfortunately, I can't seem to get the legs on mine to really stay together. There's a bunch of little tabs in there that are supposed to push these, keep these locked together a bit more tightly, but there's something weird on mine that isn't letting it happen. Still, it works pretty well even without the little tab. The tabs in the back keeping it aligned because it just fits right in there. And so I've noticed when you bring in the display stand here that I couldn't actually get it on to the stand with the gun pod attached, so I just sort of left that down there, and you get it into the front pair of tabs here. Let me just push this up a little bit. You get into the front here, and then you can work it in to, there's a couple of slots in this black area here that it also goes into, and you just sort of work the gun pod back into the display stand. So nice that it comes with a display stand. It obviously looks really cool in flight because it's a very nice streamlined and compact design. Unfortunately, I mean, it is kind of cool that you have all this launching hatch detail, sort of like in the show. I would have kind of preferred a nice big New You and Spacey logo, so I supplied my own from the VF-17 sticker sheet. Okay, and of course if you want you can pop this thing up, put it up here, and have the thing flying higher. I'll do more with the stands in the text review. I'm going to focus more on the transformation. Okay, so I'm going to set this gun plot aside. I'm going to do the transformation. A couple of things you should be aware of. There are some scary bits to this whole setup. It's kind of similar to the VF-17, obviously. A lot of this toy has a lot of eerie similarities that seem to go beyond just being, well, this is based off of the same original character. But if we start getting into it, first thing you're going to do is when you lift up the legs, you're basically taking them off a pair of little tabs underneath there, and I think it's kind of funny that those tabs look a lot like the ones on the Yamato VF1 toys. Then again, maybe I'm just being paranoid. Okay, so rather than there being a joint up here to rotate the legs into place, it's actually down here. And as you will notice that when you bring the legs out for Garrock mode, now this swivel does not work. It is locked in place. So when you bring these back, you have to have it in all the way in order for it to rotate back. Although I did notice on mine, it seems a little touchy just trying to get this thing to rotate back in place. It makes a nasty snap when I do so. It goes really easy this way, but that way it has to snap in place. Okay. Moving on, you are going to bring the wings back. And the way the wings work on this one is they decided to go with a completely new set of wings for the eventual super parts set. That actually does have 3 hard points along the bottom here. And the way these attach is there's this little plug here. I'm not going to take it out because I got it so that it doesn't pop out constantly. But this, you basically pop this thing off and then take the thing off of this pivot point right there, and you can swap out the wings. So we're going to do that, and you will notice also that on this toy, unlike the VF-17, part of the wing actually slots into the shoulder pauldron area right here. Okay, so here is a really weird part that you should probably be careful of as we go along. So we're going to bring up the thighs. There is a peg. It goes into the thigh. Just sort of pop it out a little bit. And you will probably also pop out the intake from the front here in doing so. Alright, so... okay. Yeah, just pop this back in. It actually snaps in pretty strongly back into place. Okay, so with this area, this is a 2-part fill-in piece. It's a little different than on the VF-17, which was just a little part that hinged downwards. So right here, you actually push this. You can kind of see it's off to the side, and then you push it in. Let me just a little light if you can't see that too well. So yeah, these are kind of cool. Civilian light flutes. So yeah, so this little thing is like right in there. And be careful when you're transforming this part back, because you don't want to crush this tiny little filler piece. Okay, so you're going to bring the shoulder out, do the same thing on this side, push this little thing in there. As you bring out the shoulder. If there is one frustrating thing, is that you kind of have to be very ginger in getting all these parts to cooperate in a very small space. Okay. Alright, so we're going to pull out the feet. They have the same kind of setup as the VF-25 and YF-29 toy. Die-cast ankles. There's a little hinge in the back here that brings it down, and the whole thing is also attached to a ball joint so it can get a proper A stance. Okay. Yeah, just push that up, and I'm going to put my tripod in Garrock mode for the rest of this review. Okay, so when you bring the arm off of the back plate, you do want to turn it this way basically flex it this way because this is where the main locking tab is. It's a nice thick little tab, and sometimes it can be really tight. I feel in this one it's very difficult to, well, I guess it's starting to cooperate now. Oh, that's funny. This whole thing's actually cooperating because it didn't the first time I tried this review. Okay. So, we've got ourselves getting into the gearwalk mode. This whole setup is again very similar to the VF-17 toy. You basically have this double hinge right in here. You just bring this up and you bring that in there and it's more in place. Okay. Okay, so you're going to bring this up and you're going to bend that extra hinge in there. Okay, so here's something extra detailed that does require a bit of fiddling with, is that there is a thruster in there that is really tough to get out. So I've tried using a paper clip to just get under there and flip it out. Maybe you can get that with your fingers. I shudder to think what somebody like our illustrious web admin Josh B would do in the situation. I'm guessing he would just forget about this part. Okay, got those two things out and get that nose back in place. Okay, so one more part. Going to gearwalk mode is fairly painless. Okay, so I'm gonna spread the wings and fly away. Okay, so one thing we're gonna do, get the hands out, and I'm sure I didn't leave those on there, but there is a pair of little covers, just like on the VF-17, that can't be stored anywhere. So you basically just, if you saw that, I pushed this elbow joint forward, and that brings the hand forward enough so you can grab the hand, and and you can also flip up this little thing. I managed to screw up so much. Okay, so you flip up this little thing, and that's supposed to unlock the hand, and you can push the elbow in, and then you can pull out the hand itself. It's supposed to go forward far enough so that you can bring this down and it will actually sit flush and lock in place and keep the hand from retracting back inwards if you were to push on it. I found that on this hand, this whole socket, it's difficult to get the thing to cooperate like that. To the point where sometimes I would try to, take a screwdriver and try to push it forward so that it would actually get in place, but I don't really know why it doesn't cooperate. Yeah, it's unfortunate because that will make it difficult to do the hand swap. It works pretty well on this hand, so you see, bring up the little lock on the back there, and then you use a paper clip to help pull the thing forward. There it goes. Yeah, sometimes it gets a little stuck in there because you actually have to have it. You have to have it in this position, and there's actually a slot for the index finger and thumb when you push it back in, so it has to be nice and lined up. Okay, so on this side, when I bring this all the way forward, that little locking tab stays flush. Because I can bring it all the way forward. On this side, it doesn't quite want to do that. This is a problem. And this is a problem because if you want to do the hand swap, you need to be able to push these in, and it doesn't work if you can't have the thing all the way out. Or it doesn't work if you keep pushing in and it just goes back into the the slot. So I'm going to skip the hand swap, but well, it's pretty easy. I can do it on this side. You just take it and you pop it off, and you can just stick it back in. Okay. So that mostly works. And you do get a nice full assortment of hands. Basic stuff, you just get splayed hands, you've got fists, and you've got a pair of fixed gun holding hands, and they all have the same hinge on the wrist and the same little swivel joint, so works pretty well. And the included hands do a fine job of holding the gun pod, so it's really not a big deal if you don't do any hand swapping. Let's get that whole thing out of the way. Alright, so there you go. Gearlock mode, you've got the gun, and the gun, just like on the VF-17, does have a little foregrip. So when we're in battery mode, we can give it the classic Macross 7 firing pose. Okay, we're gonna go to fighter mode, and if you see me bend these head lasers all the way around, it's okay because they're made of soft PVC. You do in fact get a set of hard plastic ones. I'm not going to swap them out because at one point when I was transferring this back, I actually got one caught underneath the arm and I had to pull it out, but it was fine afterwards. So these are pretty robust. Okay. Be careful under here. I'm going to say that right now. I'm just a little worried because when you pull this little black fill-in piece out, you're left with a very thin piece of curved plastic here. I don't know why this isn't a sturdier material. I don't know why they went with this whole setup in the begin with. It seems a little overkill, just trying to get a little more detail without making the toy sturdier. But anyway, so we're going to and we'll start here with this little latch in the back here. You can just pop it up off of this white part here. And you can also try to work the intakes past these little articulated guns here. That's just a little ball joint there. So yeah. There we go. There, work that past that part. Alright, there we go. So this whole part is going to start coming up. You should also prep the nose cone area. Just bring out the landing gear doors and bring this up. And this will actually push in a little bit, so it kind of locks in place. There it goes. Okay, so when you bring this forward, what you're going to want to do is bring the two little die-cast bars here out slightly and bring this whole thing forward, and you are trying to get it so you have the landing gear doors in between this part here. Okay, so bring the legs down and start straightening them out. Ball joints in the hips are a little tight on mine, but it seems to be working out pretty well regardless. Alright, so back here, you're going to want to fold this tab down. And you're going to want to, you can see there's actually a little, you can see the screw right there on this sliding joint. Pull this whole thing back, and it locks in place. You bring the wings back in. You're going to want to flip up these little things. Now, these often go flying everywhere because they're just held on by a little tab. These are just the fill-in pieces for the front of the chest. And you can bring, once you do that, you can start bringing the whole chest area up. Now there's a lot going on in here. It's fairly complex in there, more so than the VF-17. The VF-17 is very straightforward compared to this. So you're going to want to just bring up the front part of the chest plate. You need to make sure, let's see if I can, there's a little light in here. So if you can see, there's there's basically a little door in there, like right there. And if I can get it, you can probably see it from above. Yeah, it's a little confusing because you have to bring the base of the neck, like the whole base of the neck here, it actually rotates. It rotates, and the little door in the front here goes underneath it. And this is as you're also trying to keep all of this together. This will actually go into here. You can see this curved section here goes into the back here. And yeah, bit of a mess to get this all together. Okay, so we got you can see there's the whole base rotates. So you get that above that little door. And you can see it better from the bottom. There's that door, which is also a real pain when you're trying to transform this thing back to fighter mode. And then you bring this up, the whole cockpit area, and the bottom of the cockpit area pulls forward and locks in place. Alright, so make sure you're not, yeah, and the door is now stuck on the top part of the, there it goes. And I just collapse that thing back inside. Okay. Alright, so the way you finally get this whole thing to come together is on here you have a pair of double hinges. So you bring this up, and then these will collapse inward a bit. And both of these white tabs on the back here are going to go into this back plate here. You just line them up, and it all snaps in place. And I'm just trying to get this whole bit in the back here as well. There's no real good place to grab it, unfortunately. What am I doing wrong? Yeah. Alright, I'm going to stick that in there first, and now I'm going to bring those bits in. Okay. Alright, that's still not right. Okay. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Alright. So now we are in full-on Battleroid mode with the VF-171. It's gonna collapse. The leg's back in there, so he's a little shorter now. Okay. Okay. So, yeah. VF-171 in Battleroid mode. Very striking, very cool looking. The head on this thing is absolutely gorgeous looking. It's on a very free ball joint, and this part also is supposed to pull up just a little bit too, so you can see more of the neck. Not a whole lot locks in place in here. Like you can see there's that door I was talking about, and it just sort of like floats a little bit, the whole thing. There's actually an extra hinge in here towards the back of the base of the neck. So yeah, it's a little, there's a lot of like good things about it. I mean, the plastic quality feels a bit better than the VF-17. It's, you know, cheaper than the VF-17, although it's hard to get now, so you're going to pay the same amount anyway. I'm sort of half and half on this toy. I want to like it a lot more, but I'm going to do a separate video on how to transport back to fighter mode, and that's where a lot of issues arise. Some parts are a little too tight, some parts are just extra fiddly by the presence of all this junk in here, and things pop off like crazy. Other than that, it's a pretty well done toy. It's just that weird bits like this whole thin plastic underneath the armpit just has me worried that that's going to break somehow, because you have to do a lot of manipulation under there. And if you want, you can also bring those two little parts in a little bit more on the underside there. Okay. So yeah, I mean, it certainly looks the part, and things like this are annoying, but I don't think they are so widespread that it's an issue. It's just I got the bum one with this touchy arm socket. I'll probably figure out a good way to fix it though. Oh, come on, grab the gun. Yeah, that's the whole problem with the gun. Trying to put the gun in with this awful setup here. Okay. Anyway, overall, it's more than competent modern Valkyrie toy. Other than those few little quirks, it's pretty good. I just think this one's a bit more frustrating to handle because of all the stuff that's going on. It's kind of a shame that something so close to the VF-17, the other VF-17, ended up being just a bit more fiddly and less robust than Yamato's big beast here. Yeah. So this thing is going to eclipse the smaller, svelter 171. So yeah, this thing had such a weird development cycle, didn't it? It's just like, oh, usually you'll see an announcement, you'll see CAD pictures, you'll see a gray prototype. With this, we see a painted prototype. Pre-orders were up in like within a week and sold out even faster. So I don't know what's going on with Bandai that we can't seem to get the toys, if there's really that much fervor for Macross Frontier toys at this point, but still, this guy is pretty cool. I like it. I don't know if I really love it yet, just because of we'll get to the transformation back into fighter mode. Anyway, so this has been the initial review for the VF-171EX Nightmare Plus Princess Custom. Signing off.